good morning to those of you listening to Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9 on the FM dial. Let me say good morning also to those of you viewing GBN TV, whether it's Channel 7, Channel 11, Channel 20. Good morning, it's To The Point. I'm your host, GT. We'll be you until it's 10 a.m. this morning. Those of you also via our social media platforms, good morning. Facebook page, YouTube channels, good morning once again, and welcome to The Point. It's Thursday, so usually we host various departments within the RGPF, and this one we do have the Drug Control Department. If I can refer to it like that, right? Yeah, or Drug Squad, or whatever you want to call it. Once it's deemed with drug, we deal with that's the department we also this morning. And with this morning, we have Inspector Foresight and we have Detective Constable Maximay with this morning, and they are both representing the drug squad this morning. That's our feature conversation, but we're talking in general drug control. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to The Point this morning. How is everyone doing this morning?
Good morning. Everyone is good.
Everyone is good. All right. So our feature conversation this morning, as I mentioned in the intro, we're talking drug control. You know, the conversation is always over, drugs, the problems that it plagues on society from time to time, you understand, especially when it's been abused by individuals who for some reason cause problems, in a simple way of saying it, you understand. There are those who get themselves involved in drug for various reasons. For the monetary reasons that involved in it, you understand. There are those who get involved in jobs for some reason they think it satisfies their mind. I've spoken to someone, he said, hey, it satisfies my mind. I was trying to discourage him from getting involved in that.
Yeah.
So it varies in the use of it for different purposes. Now, we talk in drug control, as I mentioned. If I have to start the conversation this morning and say, what is drug control? How does the RGPF, the drug squad as you all represented this morning, define the drug control?
Well, I would start off right. As a beginner, I would first say that the fight on drugs, or the war against drugs, right, is something that have been in existence as far as one can remember.
Yeah.
Right, and that's mainly because of the negative effects of the substance. Right, but in Grenada, I would say in 1992. Actually is when a specific act was created, specifically setting out offenses and penalties and conditions and so on directly as it relates to drug and drug control.
Yeah.
Right, and according to that 1992 act, a controlled drug is defined as, and I will read it here in section 3. It states, in this act, the expression controlled drug means any narcotic drug for the time being listed in Part 1 of the first schedule, to any psychotropic substance for the time being listed in Part 2 of the first schedule, or any listed substance for the time being listed in Part 3 of the first schedule, and the provisions of Part 4 of that schedule shall have effect with respect to the meaning of expressions used in that schedule. Right, to the ordinary man, this goes song real kind of out of context.
Yes. I'm trying to get a hang of it myself.
Right? So I will just let Detective Maximay, he go break it down for the ordinary man.
In that layman terms, as we will say. Yes. Explain that law there first a wee bit. I'll be as simple in the terminology for our listeners and viewers there who may not be too versed in those terminology that have been used, especially within the law itself, so that we understand it a little bit more.
Okay, well, first of all, if we have any questions about the Drug Act, we can always Google it.
Okay, sure.
Research it on the internet, and we can get the Drug Act on the internet, all aspects of the Drug Act. But to define controlled drug, a controlled substance is a drug or a chemical that is regulated by the government. Now, this is considered so because of the cause it may have on persons to be abused.
Okay.
And it is regulated by the government so that it can prevent persons from being addicted or causing a misuse of that drug. Now, that drug, control drug generally, have many categories. Few categories, well. But the main three that I like to talk about are the stimulated part of it. That's one where it speeds up the central nervous system. And then there's a psychotropic part, or the hallucinogen. That's the part that causes persons to see things that are not there. And as my colleague told me once, it also causes persons to damage themselves.
Yeah.
And damage others.
Okay.
Yes. And then there's another part that kind of more of a downer. Person will see help you think.
Yeah.
Yes. That's to do with more. It more slows down the central nervous system, so persons may believe that they're thinking more and they're taking in more, but also have a hallucinogen part of it that also damages you. Allows you to see things and hear things, act in ways that you're not supposed to.
So those are the kind of drugs that is under control.
Yeah, those are more under control.
Now let's talk in a general sense now, in terms of the problem that exists in Grenada when it comes to drug and the issues or concerns the drug department or drug control department is having with drugs that is deemed to be illegal. What are those concerns that are blooming a whole lot when it comes to drug in Grenada?
Well, the main concern, as you have said, is as a result of the effects.
Yes.
Right? So because of those substances' addictive nature, people become addictive, they depend on it. The likelihood of it to cause harm to the human body, injury, illnesses, or even death by overdosing, right? As well as misuse. People using those substances in ways and means which it is not prescribed to be used, or they becoming creative and creating their own ways.
Yeah.
Maybe just the ordinary man taking it and smoking it because they believe it's just something to smoke, but without it being properly medically tested and regulated and the right doses, that is potential misuse, and it can cause harm to themselves and other persons associated with them.
All right. And there's also that little concern when they become a nuisance to society.
Yes.
You may want to say that in a blatant term like that, but the problem that exists when individuals start getting themselves involved in drugs, and now it becomes where they in order to feed that habit, they do things now that causes other members of the society problems. You understand? How big of a problem is that for the drug squad in particular?
That's where we have collaborative efforts, because it's not just the drug squad that has to respond to these things now. Yeah. For persons that's under the influence, say where they're hooked on cocaine, you'll see a lot of persons breaking into other persons' houses, stealing their produce just to sell, to make a little buck, to go back and buy another hit. And as a result, you have the criminal investigation department coming in, you have PLTF coming in, all different branches of the RGPF have to chip in now to help stop that from continuing.
Yeah. No, we talking about the control of drugs. We have mentioned slightly in terms of some of the issues that is causing society in general. Now, from a department point of view, what are some of the common problems that you see existing out there, especially when it comes to control drugs?
Right. Well, some of the common problems that we experience, or which we know society sees, right? We can look at it first at the health aspect. Okay. Right. We know there are certain negative effects from it. Some people may become mentally unstable. And as a result of that in itself can put pressure on the limited facilities we have, whether it be that of rehabilitation facilities, whether it be that of hospital care. You understand? We don't have enough maybe beds and facilities and so on. So having to cater for these additional patients is a burden. Is a burden on the state. You understand? We know the effects that it can have also on the, as it relates to the social aspects, right? That as it relates to the schools, how that can affect the school, children going to school, and so on and so forth, being under the influence of these hard drugs. That will affect them in their studies and their preparations as well. The effects on the family, persons maybe breadwinners in homes and so on, and you being locked up, convicted or sentenced for drugs. The fines for drugs is not easy. There are some hefty fines, you know, so someone having to take care of their family and those much needed funds, instead of directing that into the family and the development of the family, but that has to be directed into the criminal system. 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 and more. You know, not only that, but they may become incarcerated. So instead of paying the fine, you may be sentenced to time in prison. So you're now going away for 2 years, 4 years, 5 years. Then what's going on with your family outside? And then based on the aggravated circumstances of those offenses which is committed, a magistrate or a judge may choose to sentence somebody to both paying a fine as well as time in prison. So it become now like a double burden. You know, also the effects of those substances as well would also have an effect on the legal system, right? Definitely, the police force would have to put out more in terms of trying to deal and mitigate the drug-related situations. You'll have those criminal elements and so on trying to corrupt law enforcement, trying to corrupt judicial officers, and if they become successful, that in itself will cause a serious breakdown in law and order. You know, and then the economy, right? The illegal drug system puts a strain on the economy because those finances now are not taxed. Are not taxed to the government. Don't make it nothing when the drug man sell. Yeah, the drug man take everything, as much as well the synthetic substances, the cocaine and most of the marijuana. We're not manufacturers, we're not producers, they're not produced here. But for them to come in, money you have to spend for it. And those important finances is not staying in Grenada, but is being diverted outside, whether other parts of the region or internationally. So in that way as well, the economy of Grenada is suffering.
You know, it leads, I mean, you're going to my next question a wee bit there, because I'm saying the problem does not stem only with the users of drugs. You understand? That's a critical part of it. But the problem also stems from the sellers of the drugs, and especially those who sell it for the profit that comes with it. You understand? How does that concern the drug department a whole lot? Individuals who are sellers of drugs, especially illegal drugs. How much of a concern is that for the department?
Well, I would say it's equally concerning as the same person that brings it in, because they play a major role in introducing our society, introducing our community to this substance that causes all these effects. And at the end of the day, when they sell the drug and they get the money, again, it is not taxed, and they use that money now to push it into the economy now, and it is like a pool of water, and you're having a next supply coming in from a different source. Like, there is no tracking that money, there is no tracing back that money. So just a different flow of money coming in the economy, and you can't really control it properly, because when it goes out, and you don't know how it's going out. So money's coming in, money's going out, and we can't keep a proper track of it. And then we have the community being affected because of that as well. So we concern ourselves equally as much as to the sellers, those who bring it in, those even consuming it.
All right. I want you to briefly tell me about some of the drugs that are more commonly used in Grenada.
The major drug we have that is most common is the marijuana. We have cocaine and other synthetic drugs, but marijuana is like the highest because it is the cheapest. You can get a gram of marijuana for $5 on the street. Some people may say you get it for $3. Depends on the size.
Okay.
So it's quite efficient for a person that doesn't have any money to just pull it out and buy a small spliff or so.
All right. So marijuana is one of the most dominant, of course, as we deem the legal drug in Grenada.
Yes.
We do for breaking us, and we come back. We got much more to discuss. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We coming right back. We're talking controlled drug this morning here with, of course, the drug squad, part of the Royal Grenada Police Force. We will be right back after the break. Don't touch it out.
Sporting fans, ready yourselves for the most anticipated Winston Tide games, June 7th and 8th at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Come support our athletes as they compete with some of the region's best in the field events and on the tracks. Save the date, June 7th and June 8th, Winston Tide games at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Stay tuned for more info. Winston Tide Game 2025.
Get ready, Grenada. The Maggie King of the Grill is back and bigger than ever. On Saturday, June 7th, Monroe's playing field transforms into the ultimate battleground for grill masters. Think you got what it takes? Then fire up those grills and show your skills. Registration closes Friday, April the 11th. So don't miss your chance to compete for that sizzling prize and bragging rights. It's food, fun, and flavor, all powered by Maggie. To register, call 407-8458. Maggie King of the Grill, where flavor rules. See you there.
GBN presents the 2025 Maggie King of the Grill, Saturday, June 7th, Monrouge Plain Field from 11 a.m. Our partners, Maggie, the secret of great flavor, Grenada Distillers Limited, makers of Clark's Court, Grenada's #1 rum, Grenada Paper Products, makers of Cherish, Spring Soft, Harbour Bay, and Super Value Toilet Paper, and Royal, Quick and Easy, and Horizon Paper Towels, Budget Foods Inc., Classic Lighting, and Blue Bubbles PA Rental and Event Supplies. It's the 2025 Maggie King of the Grill, where flavor rules.
Hey GBN family, we've got a brand new home on Facebook and you need to be there. Follow us now on Facebook at Grenada Broadcasting Network -GBN. Stay updated with the latest news, sports, entertainment, and everything Grenada. Don't miss out. Like, follow, and share. Grenada Broadcasting Network. Stay informed, stay ahead. First with the news, fast with the updates.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back once again, those of you via our social media platforms. To the point here on Classic Radio GBN TV. I want to welcome back the officers inside with me this morning representing the drug squad. And our focus conversation this morning is control drugs. Officers, welcome back. My next question I want to ask which relates to, individuals who use drugs, misuse drugs. There's that the offense that they are committing by the use of illegal drugs. Individuals who import illegal drugs, the offense that they are committing, and the penalties that could occur for individuals. I mean, by you mentioning that this morning may deter somebody from wanting to think about wanting to get involved. They may be hearing of the benefit that derives from it, especially those who may think about it. Well, maybe I should start doing that for various reasons. I'm not doing well in other things. I'm not doing well in other things, and I'm hearing the conversation that if I do this or I do that as it relates to drugs, I may be well off. But it could cause you problems in the long run, because you are committing an offense and there are penalties that can derive from it. Talk to me in relation to the offense. What is that real offense someone is committing when they start the importation of drugs or the use of drugs and you are caught with it? And so especially when that particular drug that you're using is illegal. Tell us about that and the penalties that could incur.
Well, I'm happy that you use the word import, because one of the offenses is actually importing of a controlled drug. Yeah, that is exactly how it is. Okay. So we have importing possession of a. We try to be as basic as possible so that you will understand what you're being charged for. All right. So the law was designed quite well. So from possession of a controlled drug to misusing of a controlled drug up to cultivating of a controlled drug. Yeah. Normally, these fall under one category in terms of the maximum penalties that the magistrate may impose, and that is $250,000 or 5 years imprisonment. That's under summary conviction. Yeah. Whereas if you're indicted, you're charged maximum $500,000. Yeah.
And that is the penalty that derives from it.
Yes.
But then let's forward to the offense itself. The offense itself of being in possession. How does that formulate there? How does it formulate there?
Okay, let me just.
Because it has to start before a penalty could be applied. An offense has to be committed.
Yes.
You understand offense. So that's why I reference the importation part of it. When you bring in the drugs and you get caught, that's where you commit that offense. You are caught, planting or whatever, or distributing or whatever. That's where you start committing those offenses.
Yes.
And then it leads to know the penalties that could incur with that.
Okay. You have authority?
Yeah. Right. So according to the Drug Abuse Prevention and Control Act, right? Section 4, subsection 1, right? That specifically talk about the importation and exportation of a controlled drug. Okay. Right. It said section 4.1 subject to section 2. It shall not be lawful for a person to import a controlled drug, export a controlled drug, and subsection 2 says, subsection 2.1 says, does not supply A, to the importation or exportation of a controlled drug, which is for the time being accepted from paragraph A, or as the case may be, paragraph B of subsection 1, by regulations made under section 12. Right, so basically the law itself creates an offense for importation as well as exportation of a controlled drug. Okay. Right, the law itself also stretches as far as conspiracy. Right, so someone may not import, they may not export, but they may be part of the whole planning and so on, and arranging an agreement for the movement of this controlled drug as well. Okay. Right, there's also charges that relates to drug in transit as well.
Okay. Anything you want to expand on that, Detective?
In terms of the possession part, because you can import a controlled drug and be in possession of it. Yes. Once you have it on your person, like you have it in your pocket, in your bag, or you have it anywhere else that you have control over it, that will deem the offense. Yes. Yes. Importing, once you're proven that you brought that substance into the country, or it's proven that you took that substance from the country and sent it to a next country, that is how you get charged for importing or exporting. As it may be.
Okay. Interesting to know there. Anything you want to say on that? I see you going through that book, that book again. Anything you wanted to highlight that we may have missed on that?
Yeah. While my colleague is watching, I have a part of the Drug Act I wish to speak about for the offences. Has to do with offences against children.
Yes.
Firstly, if you have in possession a controlled drug, or you're selling a controlled drug, and you're within a radius of 100 meters of a school, 100 meters or 100 feet?
100 yards.
100 yards. 100 yards of a school. You can be sentenced under indictable section to life imprisonment.
All right.
Yes.
So that's committing an offense once you're 100 yards away from a school.
And you're selling
drugs.
Or you're selling it to a child, or you give a child to sell to somebody else. Anything pertaining to a child under indictable section, you get in life imprisonment as a maximum.
All right.
Right. Something interesting that I just want to add. And I guess it is timely as you was emphasizing on importation and exportation, right? One of the developing trend that we've seen in terms of how those drug pushers or drug smugglers is gaining the substances through the importation, through barrels and so on and so forth. It's a new trend that we've seen, whether be it for drugs or whether be it for arms or ammunition parts and so on. The barrel trend, right? And in criminal law it is common practice that the burden of proof is on the state. Also to prove that a person has knowledge that they have knowledge about a substance, right, is one of the points to prove the offense. Right? But as it relates to importation in particular, this presumption of knowledge now is shift basically from the state to the person who is the importer or exporter of that substance. Right, and I want to specifically read as it relates to what section 42.1 says as it relates to presumption of possession and knowledge of controlled drug. Right, and that specifically talks about the importing aspect. 42.1 says, without prejudice to any other provision of this act, 42A says, where it is proved that the person imported anything containing a controlled drug, it shall be presumed until the contrary is proved. And that is the import that I have to prove that the contrary is proved, that such person knew that such drug was contained in such a thing. B say, where it is proved that a person had in his possession or custody or under his control anything containing a controlled drug, it shall be presumed until the contrary is proved that such person was in possession of such drug. So as it relates to the importing, based on the law, it shall be presumed that such person knew that that substance was in it. So I just want to advise persons on the outside, as Carnival and so on is approaching, the holidays approaching, sometimes you may traveling to Grenada for Carnival, people might know you're coming down, somebody might say, oh, I have a bag, I have a package, carry this down for me, put that in your barrel for me. Or likewise when you're going back up, somebody may say the same thing.
They'll say you didn't know, right?
Right, they'll say you didn't know. As well as it may not just be drug, or it may not be that, but as well it could be cash. And money laundering is a serious offense as well. So I just want to emphasize to people, when you're coming in from overseas or you're traveling with your bag or your barrel and so on, once those things is in your possession, it is in your control, it is proven that you is the one that packed it and so on and so forth. Persons giving you a thing, check it and double check it, because it is presumed that you had knowledge of what is in that suitcase or whatever, because you are the one that packed it.
So it's in your best interest to ask a question.
Definitely.
You giving me this to carry, or what's in it?
What's in it?
Don't feel because I know him or her, and say, okay, give me that, I'll take it on your car, and then you get to your point of destination and you run into problems.
Yeah, definitely.
That's right.
You run into problems. So it's always ask a question, what are you asking me to carry? Because lots of people have probably gotten themselves into trouble for that. carry a bag for me,
Yes.
or carry this, and then you get to the when the whatever you're carrying has been checked, they realize it has something illegal in it, and you run into those problems. And it's innocent as an individual may be, but no, you have it's an offense you have committed. You know, it's an offense you have committed. All right, it's interesting. I want us to spend a little time talking about what is it like in Grenada in terms of the statistics. I'm not sure if you have that information carried this morning with you in terms of statistics and what we've been seeing in terms of the types of drugs and so forth. If you could lay some statistics on this morning in relation to that.
Right, yes, I have some statistics with me, right? But just as my colleague would have said, in Grenada, the main drugs that we see or we have experience with is that of the cocaine, the marijuana, and to a lesser extent the ecstasy, right? And that is mainly due as a result of the pricing and the cost of it and how deep someone's pocket is in comparison to the synthetic stuff like the fentanyl, methamphetamine, and so on and so forth, right? As my colleague would have emphasized earlier, a high from marijuana or cocaine, to get a high, it might cost you as much as $5 or $10 for the most, right? It's cheap. And then a high from ecstasy, one pill would cost someone somewhere in the range of $55 to $60. A hit from a fentanyl pill will go as much as $150. You know, so in our society, our citizens are not really attracted to the synthetic stuff, and there isn't really a market here for the synthetic stuff because their pockets do not allow
It's not that
them
it's not available.
it's not that it's not available, but their pockets would not allow them to reach that far.
Okay.
You know, a man would rather spend $5 and get a smoke of marijuana and get a high than $150 for one pill for 3 hours high, which is an entire day walk or more than a day walk. You know, from
and it leads to your financial availability.
Right. Yes,
right,
definitely.
that's right.
Definitely. Right, as it relates to statistics, right? I mean, thus far for 2025, as we just finished off the first quarter and we into just a little above the middle of May. Right, I mean the drug squad, right, specifically as it relates to marijuana, for the entire year of 2024, right, our marijuana seizure was 942 kilograms, right, or you could round it off as 943 kilograms.
Okay,
that was our seizure for the entire year 2024, and thus far for 2025, we already surpassed 1,000 kilograms of marijuana.
So which means we just passed a quarter of 2025, and there's much more than we had in 2024.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Definitely. we seize much more than what we seized for the entire 2024.
And that is just primarily the marijuana.
Right.
Marijuana.
Yeah. That's just the marijuana. Right. As it relates for the cocaine thus far, it's just around 16.5 kilograms.
Okay.
So so it's not to say that the marijuana isn't there, but it shows that our guys are working. We're definitely stepping up the game on the criminals, the drug organizations, and so on and so forth. I don't know if my colleague want to add anything.
Just to make clear, although we've had so many drug seizures, that's not all that's in the country.
And that's only what you will able to.
That's what we will
be able to
yes.
get your hands on, if you can say that.
So there's so much more that's outside there that persons outside that may be aware of it and too shy or too scared to speak up about it. So we have that little issue as well.
All right.
So the more people speak is the more we get the drugs off the streets.
All right. It leads me to asking a question, the concerns for the drug squad, especially in combating, the illegal drugs in Grenada. What are some of the concerns you're having? What are some of the issues that you're experiencing as a drug squad in terms of combating illegal drugs in Grenada?
Well, for us in the drug squad, I would say one of the main things that we have going for us, and that is testament to our successes, is the confidence in which the public have in us.
Okay.
Yes, and our record, our reputation in the drug squad is unblemished, as it relates to whether it is leakage of information or lapse in confidentiality and so on. That doesn't exist in drug squad. Yeah. Many people might say our unit is one of the units that is immune to that. So based on the many checks and balances, that we have along the way.
All right.
For someone to actually, become a member of the drug squad, of the small team that we have. The smaller the team sometimes is, the more netted you are, and the more you keep things compact together. So the public is extremely important. We have a good relationship with the public. They have the confidence in us. So from time to time, they would always feel comfortable and call us and give and share information with us, which leads to a lot of the successes which we have. And we'll definitely get back to them and give them feedback and so on. This would encourage them to, to give us information. One of the major challenges that we have, I would definitely say, is that as it relates to resources.
Yes.
Because regardless of how much you have, you always would need more.
I wish you could be in more than one location at that particular
definitely
time.
Exactly.
The drug pushers' pockets or their budget is unlimited. Unlike our budget, the government have to prioritize and everybody crying out, all sectors of society want the fair share. The busmen crying out for the road, the school children crying out for this and that, and then the police force crying out for something else. So it's the resources, and if we could have the more resources we have, then a little of that could go to some of the members of the public and give them a little encouragement or a little reward to compensate them for the information or the intelligence which they provide to us.
Yeah.
And that will also encourage them to provide more. So definitely one of that's a major hindrance we have in our duty, is that of the availability or lack of resources.
You wish you could have $2 million to deal with that on a yearly basis. So we do more. We probably will be a drug-free country in terms of illegal drugs. We're due for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we got much more. And when we come back, we also invite our listeners and viewers. They may have a question or two they may like to ask in terms of the conversation we've been having this morning. Feel free to do so in the next segment. Stay with us, folks. We're coming right back. Don't touch it out.
Attention.
Heritage Theatre presents Breaking Out, the Grenada Love Story, featuring Robert White and Lisa Grappi, written and directed by Chris DeRiggs.
But I still love you, Richie.
You love me and you're harming me. 4 big performances, Saturday 24th and Sunday 25th May at the Grenada Trade Center, Saturday 31st May and Sunday 1st June at Deluxe Cinema in Grenville. Showtime 7 p.m. sharp.
He's the love of my life, Auntie. You have to marry a man for other things besides love, child.
Get your tickets at Mitchell's Pharmacy in Grand Anse, Gittins Health and Wellness Wall Street, Gabriel's Pharmacy Pedmata, St. David Pharmacy, St. Andrew Pharmacy, Art and Soul Boutique at Spiceland Mall, 3B's Shoe Store, and GoToFed.com. Breaking Out. Come out and enjoy Grenadian theater at its best.
This ad complements Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited.
Grenada, the road to greatness continues. Catch the senior men's national team live at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium for 2 thrilling football clashes. Saturday, May 31st, it's a fiery international friendly as Grenada takes on Anguilla, just $20 admission. Then on Wednesday, June 4, it's our FIFA World Cup qualifier versus the Bahamas, $25 admission. Both matches kick off at 7 p.m. sharp. Come dressed, come loud, come proud. Style your national team, bring your posters, and show the world world. You are the 12th man. Let's pack the stadium, flood the stands, and roar together. Get your tickets now at the official GFA ticket outlets. Go to Fed.com or at the gate. Let's stand proud with Team Grenada. One island, one team, one goal.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. To the point, Classic Radio GBN TV. I'm your host, GT, with you this morning. And with me this morning, I have, of course, is it Inspector Foresight and Detective Constable Maximay with me this morning. And they're representing the drug squad here in Grenada. And this is this segment where we open our phone lines to our listeners and viewers, 435-2041. You have also double options of calling in, whether you want to call in via the WhatsApp or the direct line. A question or two as relates to our conversation this morning. And I'm sure the officers will be willing to accept or answer, I should say, questions you ask. Let's go to our first caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing, sir?
Doing pretty well. Let's hear from you.
Panel. I'd like to ask one serious, simple question. There was 11 point something tons of cocaine that was found in Brussels the other day. This cocaine was trafficked from a port in Guyana, and they tracked it all the way to Brussels before it was seized. Now, the fact that Guyana is in CARICOM, and I find that's a really bad stain. 11 point something tons. I didn't say pounds, I didn't say kilos. Tons, yeah? This is a bad stain for CARICOM, yeah? How are we dealing with it as a regional body where drugs are concerned? Because if you're talking about 11 point something tons going to Europe, how much is coming to Grenada? Thank you very much. Will you?
Thank you, caller. Thank you. Thank you so much. I guess you understand the nature of the caller's question?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I understand the nature of his questions, right? First, I want to let the caller know, as it relates to drug trend, right? Grenada itself is not a large market for those large quantities of cocaine that you're calling, as it relates to tons and so on and so forth, right? Our market is small, so most of the cocaine and so on that come up from the South America regions, the Bolivia, the Colombia, the Venezuela, the Peru. Most of it, if it come into our territories, is just a transshipment point. It stays on the high seas, and then it goes up the road, up to North America or Europe or so. And I guess as much probably is the same thing that may be happening with those that which they found in Guyana. As he said, based on the information from the news, it was heading up to Brussels, right? Notwithstanding that, we in Grenada is doing our efforts. We're partners of CARICOM, we're partners of the OECS, right? We also have a good relationship with many of the international agencies which you know about, that deals with the monitoring of those international criminal organizations that deals with those drugs and those substances. So we continue to have a good and strong relationship and in communication and partnered investigation with many of our regional countries and those international bodies and so on.
Okay.
So we're hearing of it, but we are aware.
Okay, great. We do have another caller. Caller, your life. Good morning.
Good morning, Jay, and good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Your guest. Jay, growing up, I had a lot of friends, but I had a few close ones. And along the way, some of them get hooked on marijuana. And today, when I pass them on the street, I'm kind of sad because the see of marijuana changed their life. Some of them end up in mental asylum. Some of them, you don't know what's wrong with them. But I'm just saying that marijuana, we are on the verge of bringing it where people can smoke how they want on the street. And I don't think, I'm one of the person that don't think that it's a good idea. Because I do think that they're going to spoil our youth really, really bad. And, but as a big man now, I understand the system. And I want to ask the police a question. what is really the sugar or the gel or the connection between a drug pusher, a lawyer, and the judge? It seems like these days when the police hold a drug pusher, sometimes 1 day or 2 days they're back on the street, and you hear they get a ban, they pay a money, and bam, 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 they're back on the street. So what is really keeping that lawyer, the judge, and that drug pusher really moving that fast? What is really keeping them so sweet? I would like to know. Have a nice day, brother.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution this morning. Respond to the caller?
Yes, I would like to share a few comments based on what the caller just said and try and answer the caller for. Try, I should say. I can't say there's a gel. I can say there's a process that the drug pusher must go under. As a police officer arresting a person that committed an offense, they are brought to the court. Of course, that person have a right to a lawyer. With that lawyer, now that lawyer would speak on their behalf to the magistrate. Now, once the matter reached to the court, the police officer has almost nothing to do with the matter anymore. The decision is solely based on the magistrate's discretion, based on the findings of the case. And whatever the judge or the magistrate decides, well, again, it's up to the magistrate. Sometimes, according to the amount, the person is just to pay a fine, or sometimes they end up in prison, based on the circumstances as well. So, I can't say there's a gel, but just a flow of the process.
All right, great. We do have another caller. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning, you're live. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, good morning. Trying to get an update from the officers as to if they have been partnering with the regional security system to recover the body and the narco submarine out in Grenada waters. And also, is it that some of this item has come to show to Grenada that the Coast Guard has been intensifying their efforts out at sea? Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much for your response to the caller, if possible.
Well, first of all, as it relates to that investigation and at what stage it is at the moment, I cannot say because I have no knowledge as it relates to how far that investigation is at the moment. I mean, at some point in time, maybe I could find out from person that is above above my level, and maybe I could come back on the next program and give an update. But all for now, I have no information which I could share to the caller.
Okay, good. We do have another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you. Go right ahead, please, caller. You're live.
Yes. It's good to see one of my past students there. I'm detective from the past GBSS boy. I'm not sure if Inspector went to GBSS. I'm not quite sure. But one of my past students there, proud of him. What the question I have is, can the officers give a little more light on the relationship between drugs and the importation of weapons? What kind of correlation we have there? If they can give some information on that. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much.
Thank you, caller. I'm not sure who the caller really is, but both my colleague and myself went to GBSS. Proud. Yes, about the connection. Naturally, as we say in the drug squad, with drugs comes guns, because persons invest a lot of their monies into getting that illegal substance to or from any location, and as a result they want to protect it. Now, I do not agree with the situation at hand, but it is what it is right now, and there are a lot of guns flowing in the country as well because of the same drug system we have, the drug problem we have, whether it be cocaine or marijuana. So I'm not sure that answers your question, but protecting their property, as illegal as it is, that is a lot of the push behind them bringing in the guns.
Okay. You want to respond, anything?
Yeah, let me just add that if we were to look at some of the records that the force have, the criminal records of some may say the notorious or the career criminals. Yeah. Right, most of them that we know who are involved in the drug trade as heavy pushers or maybe the dans and so on. If you were to check their records would have both drug offenses as well as weapon offenses and so on. So as my colleague was saying, there is definitely a relationship between the drug and the weapons as it relates to the heavy pushers, because a lot of money is invested in sourcing those drugs. Based on our records, 1 kilogram of cocaine is valued at $100,000 by our standard. So that's a lot of investment. So these guys source and have weapons in their possession to protect their investment.
Okay, good. We do have another call. Caller, your life. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to you.
I said that the Prime Minister says when they hold you with a gun, no bail and weapon. But I realize that some people are getting bail after they hold them with guns and put them in the prison. They are going to get bail and coming out back in the street to do the same act again. So I find something is very strange. So I want to know what really is the penalty for holding someone with a gun.
All right, caller, thank you so much. We mainly focus on drug control this morning, but I'm not sure if you want to respond to the caller in any way. Of course, in terms she's trying to find out why folks are getting bail when they are caught with I guess it's a process also, as the detective spoke about earlier. Okay, right. Let me see if I could assist the caller. Right, with the recent amendment to the legislation as it relates to firearm offenses, right? The judge at the High Court is the one that grants bail. So once you reach that stage for bail, the judge would be the one to grant bail, right? Based on what one would say what have been happening, sometimes based on the level of negotiations and so on which go on in the court, maybe that stage for bail have not reached, and the prosecution or the state is satisfied based on the facts or so, which is put across by the defense lawyers. Yes. Someone may accept their lack of judgment and so on by having that firearm or that ammunition in their possession. As it relates to the mitigating circumstances which that magistrate may consider at that time, as it relates to the circumstances and how that person may have ended up with that firearm or ammunition in their possession. Some of the cases may be genuine or maybe not, and then they would also look at maybe the value of it. They may say, okay, if a man turning in 7 firearms and 9,000 rounds of ammunition, they may say, okay, that is more beneficial in a way to society to get those 9 firearms out of the street with 900 or 9,000 rounds of ammunition off the street than to send a man in prison for a firearm that is actually the firing mechanism is not working. So in other words, it may be a firearm by the look of it and everything, but really and truly is a hammer wadi, because it can propel, it can shoot, it can think. So some of these firearms which people may hear persons coming out on the street and so on and so on. Some of the evidence, it may have the look and the shape and everything like a firearm, but really and truly is a hammer because the mechanism cannot function, it cannot work. So sometimes when the expert go and he check it, he say, but no, this can't shoot. So sometimes instead you send somebody in prison for a year, 2 years for a hammer, it might cause a greater good to the society. Like we get 15 guns off the street for this one thing, or 10,000 ammunition off the street, because it only takes one wrong
to kill a person, and some of them, they're so powerful you could penetrate one body and penetrate 3 bodies at the same time. So some of them, in considering these circumstances, is why I guess magistrates and prosecutors and so on and defense counsel may agree and look at the greater good, the greater benefit to society, and they make those decisions based on the greater good for the society.
All right. Another question that comes to mind, there's always that conversation. I know the officers may like to do that in this segment because we just have a few more minutes before we wrap up. That warning you want to put out to individuals who may be considering selling drugs, the consequences that could derive from it and so forth. If you want to do that as a closing contribution for us this morning before we take a wrap this morning.
Oh, sorry, I just had my mind just traveled. Sorry.
I was saying that if you would like to throw to our listeners and viewers, individuals who may be, considering getting themselves involved in the sale and the use of illegal drugs, what would you like to tell them in terms of to defuse their mind from going in that particular direction? What would you like to say to them as a closing comment this morning?
Well, for me, the main thing I would just leave a 2-word quote to them, think twice. Think twice, because you must think about the circumstances. Drug offenses have hefty penalties. You understand? Hefty penalties as the law states, just for possession of a controlled drug. Right? Whether you're in control of one spliff, as they would say, or if the police catch you with a truckload of marijuana. Yeah, the summary offense is the maximum is 250,000 or 5 years in prison. Whether it's one spliff or whether it's a truckload of marijuana, it carries the same thing, the same maximum, 250,000 or 5 years in prison. If you're charged indictably by the police, then the maximum sentences change. And as I say again, whether it's for one spliff or whether it's for a truckload of marijuana, the maximum shift from 250,000 to 500,000 or 20 years in prison.
All right.
Yes, so also consider your family. What will happen to your family if you're put away, or if you have to invest 100,000 into the court system? That's funds that you can use to actually propel yourself, your family better, betterment of yourself. So consider the penalty, consider what you're giving up first before you really consider the benefits of all little change.
All right. Detective, anything in closing?
I was just thinking about a person that sells illegal substance that I know of. And I spoke with him a few days ago, and I know his son very well and his daughter. And I told him, well, look at what your son is getting involved with. He said, well, I speak to him every day about it. But at the end of the day, children tend to follow, especially their parents.
Yeah.
And if you're considering getting into selling illegal substances, remember that if you have a family and you have a child at home, he will look at you and say, I want to be like daddy, I want to be like mommy. And what do you want them to become in the future? What kind of goals you want to set for them in the future? Because when they want to be like you, when they see you want to be like you, eventually they will come out like you. And you don't want them to get themselves involved in that. So think about the family, think about the children that you would be impacting, the kind of information you'll be sending to them, the advice you'll be sending to them. And yes, it could be good advice as well as bad advice. And in this case, that will be definitely bad advice, because you win, yes, you get some marijuana sale, you get some money, so be it. You lose, you end up in prison. And that is not a message you want to send to a child. So think about the message you're sending out there to children on a general basis.
All right. Officers, I want to thank you once again for coming and sharing information this morning. And I certainly hope the information that we dispersed this morning will be a deterrent for individuals wanting to get themselves involved in of course, in the particular drug trade. You understand, for the sale of illegal drugs and, of course, the importation of illegal drugs. Hope that becomes a deterrent from them. And our next conversation we have, when you do pop by again, you'll be probably coming and give me a list amount in terms of the statistics. You'll be telling me, well, after what we had in 2025, 2026, we have a total reduction. Folks are now seeing the not so good benefits that it's bringing. You understand? To a country as a whole. Thank you once again.
Thanks again for having us.
Right. Hey, folks, that's what we're going to take a wrap for this edition of To The Point for today. I want to thank all who sat at home and they listened, those who called in and contributed some way or the other. Thank you so much. Join me again for another edition of To The Point. That's where we say goodbye. Goodbye, folks.